So we're first going to start off with landmarks from Canada. And just so you guys know, I decided to present on Canada because I'm actually from there. And I'm going to be talking about a landmark that's actually in my home city. So just to give you guys an idea of where the landmarks are in Canada, they're all where those black stars are. So they're kind of more towards the eastern part of Canada in Toronto, Quebec, and then where I'm from called Halifax. So if you guys look really hard, you can see on this fun little map around the same area, you can actually see the CN Tower, which we're going to be talking about, the Chateau Frontenac, and then also Citadel Hill. So the first landmark that we're going to be talking about is from my home city in Halifax, and it's called Citadel Hill. For some of you who might have recognized this landmark, you might also know it by its other name, which is Fort George. And it was originally named this after King George III of England. So going off of that, it was founded in 1749 by the British when they founded the city of Halifax, and it was originally used as a military base, which was really good because it looked out into the harbor and could see any ships that were coming in and that could be a threat to them. And so they continued to build it all the way up until 1856. So each one of those pointy stars that you can see make up one fort. And so totally it kind of gives this unique star look to it from above. So the fort was very important to the British because close by, the French also had a really important fort in a town called Louisbourg. And so the British used this to defend the city of Halifax. Today, it's more used as a symbolic site. And so it's still guarded, but it's not really used to defend the city anymore. And there's a clock tower that you can see there at the right. And every time it strikes noon, the cannons over there that you can see on the left will actually go off. And that still happens today, every single day. So the next monument is the Chateau Frontenac, which I think some of you guessed it's kind of like a big castle in Canada. And it's located in Quebec City, which is in the province of Quebec. So it was built in 1893, and it was originally built so that it could be a hotel, but one that was very luxurious. And it was built by the Canadian Pacific Railway Company when they were trying to build a series of really fancy hotels so that they could get even more tourists. The building itself is named after the governor of New France, or Quebec, Louis de Beaume, who is also known as the Count of Frontenac. So the hotel itself is very elevated, and it is actually the historical site of many important events throughout history. So actually during World War II, many important leaders of the Allies came to meet in this hotel to discuss war strategies and important things related to the war at the time. But now, as you can see in the upright corner, it's probably one of the most fancy hotels in Canada. So the final monument that I'm going to be talking about is the CN Tower in Toronto. And so this is probably the most new landmark of all the three. It opened in 1976 and is probably the most recognizable building in Canada. A lot of people think that the building was actually built just as a tourist attraction, but it was actually built to improve telecommunications, which means that it helped with radio and phone signals. So at the time that it was built, Toronto, the city, was just starting to boom and improve, and they were building a lot of skyscrapers. And with all those tall buildings, the radio signals of the city really started to get affected. So they built this really tall tower where all the signals would come from to help improve all of that communication. So at the time that it was built, and up until 2009, it was actually the tallest freestanding building in the world. And it was so tall, in fact, that they had to use a helicopter to put the pieces together. I don't know if you can see, but in the top right corner, that's a picture of them trying to put the final pieces on it. And so today it's still used for telecommunications, but there are other tourist attractions that you can do while you're visiting Toronto. So you can go out into the Sky Bridge, and it's basically a floor that's completely glass. So you can go out and look down and see all the way down to the ground. You can also have dinner up in the top of the tower, or if you're really adventurous, you can go bungee diving. But I've never done that before.